Good afternoon and welcome back. It's Weight Loss or Weight Release Wednesday, and thank you so much for joining me today. It's a wonderful sunny day here in Arizona. To be perfectly honest with you, it's a little wacky of a Wednesday for me, but you know what? That's okay because it actually gave me a chance to kind of incorporate something new into my mix that I've been wanting to incorporate. And as crazy as that sounds, it was actually just getting a good walk in. Getting a good walk in. Now, how can that shift things around for a person? Today, I felt tired, kind of in my brain and a little bit in my body. I've been staying up a little bit later because I'm teaching myself something new, and I have so much of my time blocked off for different projects and things that I'm working on. A lot of times later in the evening is the time that I spend learning new things that I'm trying to achieve or draft into what I'm doing in life. My solution today just kind of came from within and told me to maybe just get out and take a walk around and clear my head and just take an opportunity to see everything for how nice or how beautiful it was or how even interesting it was. And we had a long time ago kind of charted out where in our neighborhood was a mile, and I just set out with that goal to do a mile and just get lost in my thoughts and listen to the sounds. I didn't take any sounds with me, no music. I didn't take my phones with me. I just went out and committed to listening to the music of outside, which is something that my daughter mentioned to me this morning, that was sometimes the best music. And so that's the music that I listened to. And really and truly, when I came back from that mile, I really did feel a lot better. And so I'm looking forward to incorporating that maybe 1 or 2 times a day into my routine, because it was easy to see how simple it was. It gave me a lot of clarity. It helped kind of re-energize me and get me going back in the direction that I wanted to for the day. So let's connect the dots back from where we were at last week. Last week we were kind of talking about drawing ourselves into a mild awareness of fat girl or fat guy mentality, becoming aware of when we nitpick ourselves or when we get super judgy of other people based on how they look. So I'm hoping that you got an opportunity to kind of see the different times in your life where that creeps in for you. And because that leads us up to, you know, what are the steps that we can take to start correcting that behavior and reworking those grooves in our head. And honestly, as crazy as it sounds, you know, when I was growing up, it was always said that if you talk to yourself, you've got to be crazy. And so here's your card. Here's your card to be able to be crazy, because I think that one thing that's really helped me face my challenges head on with the fat girl mentality is learning to talk to myself, almost acknowledging myself and reacting to myself like I would my children. My daughters are at an age that my sister and I never were like this, but my daughters are at an age where sometimes they're just downright mean to each other, and I really cannot stand it. And so I find myself correcting them a lot of times on the words that they use. So if we take that same way that we would correct maybe a child of ours, a student, or maybe even the way that we choose to correct people that work for us or that we work with, I mean, shift that into how we talk to ourselves. I think I mentioned in the last video how easy it is for me to be really mean to myself. And I was chatting with someone who said, yeah, you know, we would never talk to our daughter or someone that we cared about the way that we talk to ourselves. And that's so true. So I think a positive way that you can start reframing that for yourself is acknowledging yourself and kind of calling yourself out like you would, or like I am with my daughters, you know, like, don't be mean to her, or telling myself, don't be mean to me. I'm not going to listen to you say mean things to me right now. And it just shuts me down. It shuts my brain down for a minute. And it's almost like I hear myself and it quietens me, and I allow myself to kind of patch up to something kind. And if it's even just the word kindness, then good. At least I stopped being mean to myself long enough to connect with the fact that my goal is really to be kind to myself, to really start thatching in and sowing seeds of love with myself. And if you know anything about attaching to a child or rearing a child, that trust in what we say in our words is so important. And believe it or not, those words are just as important for you. And we all come from different places. You know, we come from places where people told us we were fat or called us fat, or we called ourselves fat. So we've got a lot of programming that we are blessed to be able to work out for ourselves. And I remember the first time I realized that I was going to have to be my cheerleader. And that was way, way, way before I had any idea or reference point for fat girl mentality, or even was on the thought process of losing weight. It really was when I was in college. You know, we all have that thing in kindergarten and on through elementary where we love having the praise of other people. But when you get into college, you know, your mom, well, first of all, you probably don't want her to know every single one of your classes, but she's certainly not there cheering you on for every little thing, and you're not getting badges and little rewards. And what I learned at that time, in order to have that same good feeling, is I learned to cheer myself on, to tell myself that I was doing a great job. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. Trust me, as much time as you spend talking bad to yourself, there's really nothing wrong with spending a little bit of time talking good to yourself. And another part of that, I think, is not just the way we talk to ourselves, but the way that we treat ourselves. And I can say firsthand from personal experience, I tend to deny myself a lot of things if I don't feel like my behavior or my habits or my routines are where they need to be. I'm the worst parent to myself in that way, because I certainly don't also, again, treat my children that way. I know it's just not positive. And sometimes it's treats, and, you know, getting away from treating yourself or rewarding yourself in any way with food. But we need other ways to treat ourselves and to give ourselves a little boost and remind ourselves that we care about ourselves. And a simple way that you can do that is just incorporating a little bit more self-care into your life. You know, if you're a lady, you know, light a candle, relax, enjoy even 5 minutes, because sometimes that's all I get is 5 minutes in the bathtub. And speaking of bathtubs, that's the reason why I always chat in here and have my best conversations, I feel like, with you sitting in my bathtub, because this is one of my #1 happy places besides my patio. And the birds out there in the trees are, quite frankly, so loud, I don't know who would be running the video, me or them. And I also have some of my deepest conversations with my little girls that run in and out of here when I'm just doing my normal routine. But I definitely recommend, you know, just one night a week, maybe 10 minutes, even if you're a guy. You know, maybe it's an extra long shower, or, you know what, debunk the gender thing and take a bath yourself. And something that I am really loving right now, and it's one of those rare things that I treat myself with, and it's probably because I can get 2 for 99 cents and some for just $1, but it's those sheet masks. And it's just a real simple thing that makes you feel good. It doesn't feel super messy like trying to put on a cream-based mask, but it gives you a feeling of caring for yourself. And it always says, you know, to do it for 15 minutes, and I can't sit still that long. You know, I'm lucky to do the 10 minutes, but you know what, it's a conscious, aware thing that I do, is to take that time to care for myself, because my husband and my children can love me as much as they want, but it's not their responsibility to take care of my body. And to help me feel rested and connected to myself. I gotta get a little drink. Okay, so the last and final thing that I kind of want to connect with you on is the routine that I had kind of incorporated and have been dancing around. Okay, the routine or the system or the approach that I was able to easily incorporate into my life back in the middle of July, when I decided to start taking some steps towards getting this weight released from me. So I did a lot of research into intermittent fasting. And for me at the time, it really worked because I ideally wasn't usually having time to eat until about 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. That's me back when I worked at the office. I would, deliver all the children to school. I would get to the office by 9. I would dive right into my work. And I generally, like I said, I wouldn't look up or take the time to eat until 10 or 11. And that kind of is a simple frame of how intermittent fasting already worked. It has to do with prolonging the time period in the morning that you break your fast. The fast being the time between your last meal the night before, all night long, not eating after that last meal and into the morning. And there's tons of benefits to prolonging your fast. And I'm not going to get into all those today because I'm certainly not an expert. But I do want to share with you some tips about it in another video. But that is kind of the basic premise. And there's a couple of different ways that you can do it. What has worked for me is the 8 and 16 window. So basically think about it like this. If you wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning, you want to delay eating breakfast or your first meal for 4 hours. And then the window that you eat in would be from, what is that, like 11 to probably 7 again. And at 7 would be your final meal of the day. And from then on out, you would just have liquids or teas, nothing containing sugar, really. Your fasting time is also kind of a time to let your body do its work. And that's why so many people get a lot of benefits from it, because your body gets extra healing time. It also gets extra time to do all the processing of your food. And if there's none left over, it goes in and starts working on your stores of fat. Like I said, there's tons of health benefits for a lot of different things that people are going through right now. And I've seen people add in, keto to this type of fasting. I did it in my first phase with the plant-based approach. But really and truly, something I would like to encourage you this week is to look into intermittent fasting, because it's really simple. And the coolest thing about it, unlike a lot of programs or diets, is the mess up factor. A lot of times it's like, oh, I messed up. It's over, I'm off my thing or whatever. But the great thing about intermittent fasting is you can always start over the next day. So if you ate outside of your window, or you had to break your fast earlier, that's okay. Just get back in there the next day and start your program right over again. So it's nothing strict. It's just really about being mindful of certain windows of time. And it really does feel good once you get into it. And I think a lot of times so many things are so daunting when you go in to consider maybe going a plant-based route. Like that might seem pretty dramatic to you if you've never thought about it, or doing keto, and a lot of things that take a lot of steps can just seem very intimidating. And that's, again, what I like about the basic system of intermittent fasting. I think that anybody could take kind of how you eat now, maybe minus a lot of your sugars, because that's another relationship thing that takes place there, is the fasting is also working with the way your body's using and processing insulin. So I always try to kind of keep down my sugar intake, especially when I break my fast, but definitely throughout my eating window, so that the work my body's doing is not constantly chasing insulin spikes. But back to my basic point is, if you just took what you think is your most best or decent eating and sugary drinks, if you're still not able to kick the soda or maybe the sweet tea or something, let's just try and practice limiting that to a window of time. And after that window is closed, then just have plain tea or have some herbal tea without sugar in it. Let's see, warm tea. I always use apple cider vinegar too, and that's something that I incorporate in the morning. It really kind of helps get you through that morning. Is a shot of apple cider vinegar and some water, and I like a couple of detox teas. So maybe next week I'll share with you a little bit more about my regimen. But for this week, I'd just like you to maybe open your mindset up to it. Do some research. Google intermittent fasting. And like I said, I want to share more with you about it next week. I just don't want to come across like I'm a doctor. So that's why I really want you, because I'm not, I really want you to do a little bit of research on it and watch a couple of YouTube videos, Google it. I really found a lot about it on just Googling in YouTube, and see if it's something that could be practical for you. And then if that's practical, then within that, we can also kind of go in and, you know, change up some more habits. Like if it's, you know, finally kicking the soda or finally kicking the candy bar thing that you've got going on. So let's find some ways that are simple and that aren't so super challenging, and that the mess up factor is really small. And see what we can do to work on incorporating some more change, and keep going with, you know, maybe subtracting one thing each week that takes you on that path towards where you want to be, and adding in new things like maybe throwing in a mile.